What is up, Ayo? Shawn here for another mentor session. Let's get this thing started right away. The first question comes from Kristen, and Kristen says, how do I learn how to run team meetings and at what frequency to build my team and culture? The background is I just brought on another coach in my one-to-one nutrition coaching business and aim to bring on several more this year. I want to cultivate an environment of leading, educating, and supporting my team. I've been a solopreneur my entire adult life. I'm not even sure where to begin and what the meeting should consist of or how often. Awesome, Kristen. I'm also going to have a few other mentors, Paul, Greg, Joel, Brad, Marcia, Shelly, and Jennifer, answer these questions. Jennifer is somebody you might really want to get to know, and you might want to watch her other mentor sessions on the YouTube channel or listen to them on the SoundCloud podcast account, because Jennifer is a leadership and team building coach. There is a book I would recommend getting. It's called Traction. You can get it on Amazon. It was written by a guy by the name of Gino Wickman, and he came up with a program called Entrepreneurial Operating System, and it is specifically designed to help you do what you're asking, which is how to run meetings, what frequency, and how to build that leadership within your company as you're growing it. This is something that we as entrepreneurs want to continually master as we grow, because people are the number one things in our business. Quick advice that I can give you is it's great to do a daily morning huddle. We call it a huddle because it's not a huge meeting. The purpose of a huddle is to just check in and see if there are any bottlenecks or major issues that do require a longer meeting to be discussed later. This allows you to check in with your team member, and there's a structure that Traction will teach you. There's a structure of how to run these meetings, okay? So daily, real quick, 5 to 10 minutes. I would also urge you to take a look at using some sort of project management software for projects that you're working on. There's a good one called Trello. There's another one called Monday. Those are great, easy to use subscription service platforms that you can use. You can find somebody on a website platform called Upwork where you can find a certified administrator of Monday and Trello to teach you how to use the system specifically for your business. And I'd highly recommend that. The next thing is everything that we as entrepreneurs and as leaders want to delegate and teach to our team members. There's a software that we recommend using called Trainual. Train, like a railroad train, Trainual, UAL. We do have a membership discount. I'm not going to say it because I've got it on live stream, but that is a software that enables you to create processes. And as you train your team member on something, instead of just training them and expecting them to remember it, you can document it in the form of voice, audio, video, and written. That way they will always have a place to go to know exactly how to do what it is you train them to do. One of the most frustrating things as business owners is as we start to delegate, we want to think about things in the future. We feel like when we train somebody, they should just remember it and not have to come back and ask us how to do it. And so that can be very frustrating to a new entrepreneur. If you start documenting your processes and your trainings right away and get into that habit, it's going to help you in the long run. Okay? Hope that helps. All right, next question comes from Grant. And Grant says, how do I scale my online coaching business to begin bringing on new coaches to work with clients? The background is my company helps people via an online low back rehab program. My clients mostly find me on social media and build trust with me personally. How do I build messaging and processes so when they sign up, they are okay working with one of my coaches or trainers instead of me personally? Grant, love this question. I'm also going to have Jerry Morton, Peter, Dan, and Jennifer answer this for you because they've got experience with this. But this all comes to the messaging that you put on your social media and on your website where people might sign up, and as part of your onboarding demonstration and your onboarding of new clients. If you can change your messaging from Grant, I, to rehab fix And it's going to be completely natural for people to work with somebody on your team because your messaging is already stating that you're a company and you have coaches and trainers that work with you. I don't work with the guy that owns Planet Fitness. I don't go to Planet Fitness, but I'm just saying, when I go to Planet Fitness, I'm not looking to do business with the owner of Planet Fitness. I'm doing business with one of the trainers, or I'm working out, right? So if the messaging is that they're doing business with Rehab Fix and your coaches and trainers, not going to be a worry in the world. The majority thing that you're going through is it's all in your mind. You are worried that people only want to work with you. Let me burst your bubble. People don't care whether they work with you or anybody else as long as their back gets rehabbed and fixed and then makes them happy. That's all they care about. Don't want to burst our big ego there, but that's just the truth and the way it is. And I know you can handle it. That's why I'm talking like that. But that's where it can come into play. So you might want to start working with some messaging and communication systems with maybe whoever does your branding. Hire a good copywriter. Get some good sales script training with that. Tom Black, your sales coach here in Accelerators Organization, can help you with scripts. He'd be a great person. For $500, Tom will actually work with you for your onboarding demonstration and closing of new clients. He will help you write out perfect sales scripts that will increase your close ratio as well. Would definitely recommend that you work with Tom on that. All right, the next question comes from Grant, and Grant says, how do I determine what hires to make to continue scaling my online coaching business? The background is my company helps people via online low back rehab program. I know I can hire additional trainers to service my clients, but as I bring in more leads, how do I determine my role in the company? Right now, I do almost everything. As far as demonstrations and closing a new client, I do that as well. Should I or can I hire someone to do that? Absolutely, man. Listen, when building a company, the goal is to get to where your company is a self-managed company and you just manage all the people in the company. You don't necessarily have to perform any specific role in the company. So even though you're doing everything now and you've been in growth and survival mode of I have to do it because I'm the only one in the company, the goal is that every single thing in your company can and could be delegated to somebody else who will be just as good or better than you doing it. I know that's hard to believe, but believe me, once you get to the other side in business and get to 7 and 8 figures, you'll see exactly what I mean. As you grow this, you should book some calls with me and get onto some of the monthly Zooms here in Accelerators Organization and start describing each situation that you're going through in order to grow. And then the way to make the decision on when and when you should hire certain people, like maybe you bring on someone to do the demonstration, maybe even do the closing. Then you turn it over to a client manager, not the actual coach or trainer, but just a client customer service representative who onboards the clients and lets them know exactly what the process is going to be for them to go ahead and get coaching from one of the coaches. Then it goes over to the coach. So there's a whole bunch of different processes that you can use when doing this. And we can work with you during every step of the way. One of the ways to manage this is just through cash flow. When will your cash flow in the business enable you to do those hirings? All right, that's the data that we want to take a look at. All right, hope that helps, brother. Okay, the next question comes from Paris, and Paris says, do you have any suggestions on where I could start a sales career and get great sales experience? The background is I am brand new to sales and don't know where would be a good place to start. I have the desire to be the best salesperson I can be and become a professional. I also desire to have a business where I can close high-ticket items and services for other entrepreneurs and business owners, as well as business-to-business selling. Do you have any ideas? As always, thanks for your time. Okay, Paris, I'm going to have Peter and Paul and Tom and Marcia and Brian answer this question for you. I know you and I have talked about this a little bit. I know Tom is going to be one of the best people to guide you on this because he's a sales coach and he has hired and trained thousands of salespeople in his career. Some initial ones I'm thinking of is insurance sales and also telemarketing companies. Telemarketing especially those telemarketing rooms that you go to work at, they're high turnover, not the most glamorous jobs in the world, but they really teach you how to follow a script, the importance of the script, how to get good on the phone. They will ongoing manage you to help you because they'll listen in on your sales calls, on your telemarketing calls, and then they'll give you feedback and training. Excuse me. Try to see if you have any telemarketing lead generation firms in your local area and then go interview. They don't mind working with somebody new because you're going to get paid on commission only. For you, you're doing it not only to make some money, but you're doing it to get the sales training that a lot of people pay for sales training. You're going to get it on the job. This is called earning while you're learning. Okay. So look for some lead generation telemarketing rooms where they basically say no experience required. What you want to find out when you're interviewing with those companies is not that they'll hire anybody off the street. So don't worry about getting hired. What you want to ask is what kind of training program do they have? What kind of ongoing training do they have to make sure that you can continue to boost your salesmanship and sales skills to make more money? They want you to make more money because if you make more money, they make more money. So find a firm that has a vested interest in seeing you succeed. And then once you get some good sales skills, then you can level up to different sales opportunities like IT sales, medical device sales, financial services, or start to get ready to start your own business. Okay? Hope that helps, brother. Okay, the next question comes from Dane, and Dane says, how do I hire people that I can depend on? The background is I own and operate a carpet, upholstery, and tile and grout cleaning company. I'm having a very hard time finding someone who is reliable and can show up on time. Okay, Dane, I'm going to have about 9 other mentors answer this for you. Paul, Tom, Joel, Brad, Marsha, Shelly, Nick, Brian, Jennifer. They're going to all answer this question for you, okay? Some of them are going to be better than others, but the reason I want all these mentors to answer this question for you because all of us have our own way of hiring and training and motivating and managing people, and it's going to be good for you to get different perspective from all of these mentors. Remember, all of these mentors are running multi-million-dollar companies. Paul has a recruiting company, multi-million-dollar recruiting company in Southern California. Tom has built 2 different billion-dollar companies in the banking industry. Joel runs a 10+ million e-commerce business and knows how to hire people that are going to work in a warehouse all day. Brad owns a massive 200+ person virtual assistant company in the Philippines. Marsha runs a multi-million-dollar HR company, so she's going to have lots of advice. Shelly runs a $4 million fire protection and safety company. So all of these mentors are experienced business operators, are going to have different things to bring to the table to help you when learning how to do this. From my perspective, I will say is what's most important is the hiring process and the onboarding process. You may have heard me talk about that when we are hiring and we're building a company, it's very important for our company to have core values. If you go into the resource center, and you go into the branding section of the resource center, you're going to see some articles around developing core values for our business. Before you start hiring, it's really important to have core values. And the reason why is you want to make sure you hire people, not only people that can do the job as far as a skill perspective or duties and can fit the job description and all that type of stuff. You want somebody that fits the culture, which is going to be a big part of your question is people you can depend on. Well, part of your core value is going to be around dependability, exceeding expectations, showing up on time, being professional. Those are all core values. And when you hire people, you're going to say, these are our core values. Do you think your personality meets these core values? In fact, part of your hiring process could be, I agree to these core values and will agree to always do my job according to these core values. That way, when someone is less than dependable or does something different than the core values, we call them into a meeting and say, hey, John, I want to talk to you about a specific situation in particular. I noticed that one of our processes is when you return the equipment, you have to clean off the broom. I'm just using this as an example. You have to clean the broom before you put it back on the shelf. I noticed that a couple times you didn't clean the broom. And I was wondering, are we not providing you cleaning products and a place to clean the broom? Or what was the situation? And then you let them explain why they were lazy and didn't do the job that you trained them to do. Well, after they get done explaining and giving you all the bullshit they're going to give you, which you want to be empathetic and listen because there might be some real issues, but you want to say, well, if you'll remember, and you pull out the core values. If you'll remember, one of our core values is that we clean brooms, whatever one would be applicable. You sign that you would do this. Is there anything that I need to be concerned about on why you're not doing it and you will do it in the future? Because this isn't necessarily the biggest deal in the world, but if you're not doing this task, it makes me think maybe there's some other things that I might not be seeing. And this is one of our core values. Is everything okay? Do you agree that you still believe in these core values and that maybe that particular thing, that process did not hold up to our core values? Is there anything we need to talk about, or can you go ahead and get back to the person that you know you can be? And then you have that dialogue. Hopefully that fixes the situation. If they do it again, then now you know something's really up, and sometimes you have to free up their future because they're deciding to not do the job they were hired the way you want them to do it, and they're deciding not to work there anymore. So hiring correctly, training them and onboarding them correctly, and then managing them correctly is how you find people that you can depend on. It's not like a computer that it just sits on the shelf and performs when we want it to perform and has no personality. Our team members are people. They have their own problems at home, their own relationship problems, their own health problems. So we want to be good leaders and get to know our team and build good, strong relationships so that they can be dependable. So those are some of the things, and there's a lot more that we can go into, but in the resource center as well, in the web portal for AO, go into the team building and leadership sections and start reading all of those articles. There's a ton of amazing articles for you to read because lots of people have this issue. So I found those articles. Go in and read those articles, and that will help you make sure that you are brushing up on your own leadership skills and team building skills. Okay? Hope that helps, brother. Okay, the next question comes from Dan, and Dan says, we listed an IT developer as owning 3% of the company on our Chase business application, but I can't find any documentation of the equity split agreement. Does he legally own the 3%? The background is I'm a CTO of a tech startup, and with my friend Todd, and we have the majority of the equity. I brought on another developer, Will, around 2020 to help with a skill I didn't have, and we agreed he'd receive 3% equity, but I'm struggling to find anything that puts this in writing. It was definitely understood between all of us that he had 3%. This was referenced in a handful of emails and noted on our application and credit cards. I think, though, we never put it together a document stating this. My initial equity agreement was the same, 3%, and we would have made a copy with my name changed to Will's. The only physical or electronic document I can find is the NDA that Will signed. I'm guessing I never got around to finalizing things, and he assumed it also and talked about his equity. It doesn't. So unless there's a signed paper that Will kept, I'm unclear if he has a legal claim to the 3% equity. He did a good job, work that helped a ton, but stepped away a year ago when his employment changed and isn't interested in or able to join back up with us in a meaningful way. Todd and I have made some great strides, and we are preparing to find our first customers and investors, and a non-participating 3% owner won't look great. I'd like to bring this to his attention and offer a lump sum for his efforts instead of keeping him on the team since his priorities don't appear to be aligned with ours. I want to handle this professionally and respectfully without burning a bridge. Furthermore, am I focusing on this too much? This is my and Will's first startup and Todd's second. Is 3% worth this worry considering the likely dilution from potential angel and VC investors? And that only matters if we make any money. Whew, what a long ass background, dude. But I definitely get it and I understand it. I'm going to get a couple other mentors, Jerry, Greg, Mark, Jeff, Brad, and Tyler to answer this. They're going to have a lot of perspective because I know they have a lot of work with partnerships as well. So the first thing I would say is this is definitely a moral and ethical question you're answering as well, because if it wasn't a moral or ethical issue, you would just go ahead and issue him the 3% membership interest in the LLC or the 3% worth of shares in the corporation and just give it to him because that's what your word was. And if it was me, that's what I would do. If I told somebody they own 3% of the company, they own it. And if the paperwork's not there, I don't care. I would give them the 3% of the company. Then, and that's one issue. The second issue is I don't want them to have the 3% anymore. What does it say in our operating agreement if we wanted to purchase somebody's 3%? What would it mean? We also could have built, it's too late now, but you could have built something into that 3% that you offered them that said if they leave the company as an employee within a certain amount of time, the 3% ownership comes back to the company. Because was the 3% given for a specific amount of work that they already did, and that was the 3% instead of compensation? That's easy. They own the 3%. So now it is, how much would it take for me to buy that 3% from you? In your operating agreement, it probably spells out what buying out a partner's situation would be, and you follow the operating agreement. If you don't have that in your operating agreement, get an attorney and get an operating agreement, because you and Will could potentially go through something like that as well. And any angel investor or any investor that's going to invest in your company is going to want to see your operating agreement. They're going to want to see what's called a cap table, which tells who are the equity partners, how much do they put in, how many shares do they own, all that good stuff. So all that's going to be needed in your operating agreement and your cap table. But so that's it, man. I just have a conversation with Will and say, hey, you're no longer with the company. We're going out to raise more money. What do you think would be a fair and equal amount to pay you for your 3% now? And then just start the negotiation. This is good old negotiation time. He might give you a low number. He might even say, you know what, I'm not with the company anymore. I don't want anything. So if you guys are friends, go ahead and just have the conversation with them. Once you have the conversation with them and you need to ask some questions about how to negotiate it, maybe you could submit another question. But that's what I do right now at this particular juncture of the situation. Okay? Thanks, Dan. Appreciate you, brother. Hope all is well. Okay, the next question comes from Robin, and Robin says, is it important to have a team, copywriter, social media manager, videographer, etc., before you even think about having a presence on Instagram? Thank you for answering my questions. I am an independent artist for the business Art for Calm. I asked this question as I enter the business world of social media. Okay, so Robin, no, it's not vital that you have a team to start off. But just know that Instagram, and to build a business on Instagram, does require the ability to create attractive content, which is video and imagery. It also has to do with the captions, which is copywriting. It has to do with customer service and just working and replying to comments and replying to DMs. And then it's thinking strategically about what type of content do I need to be posting in order to monetize and create sales from Instagram. So Instagram could either generate sales because you could implement the shopping component that could connect directly to your shop, your store on Instagram to make sales directly from your page, or it could be lead generation where you tell people to click the link in your bio to see more information about the art that you sell. And so all of that is really important as your brand is concerned. So it's nice to have all those team members, but you can do it yourself, but you would have to teach yourself how to do all those things. Normally speaking, it's very difficult for one person to do all of that and do all of it amazing. Might be able to get it done, but to really make it, crush it and make a lot of money, usually the people on social media that you see that have amazing Instagram accounts with beautiful imagery and videos and instructional videos and all those things, they usually have some 1099 workers that are helping them in different areas so that they can focus on the revenue generating activities of the business, working with clients, selling clients, and things like that. Okay? But I always say, just get started. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? You're just going to spend some time on it learning. So go ahead and just get started. And I've given you lots of different examples of ways that you can showcase your art. Just get started. Have some fun. Do some live streams like this and just let people watch you paint. And maybe some people are going to like what you do and you might pick up some business from it. Okay, the next question comes from Jessica. And Jessica says, can you provide direction on how to begin finding investors to fund marketing and manufacturing of a new product I'm inventing? The background is I spent the last 15 years working on a new product and patent. My current profession, construction executive and general contractor, has no relation to the mentioned idea product I've spent the last year plus collaborating on. It is an electrical device that can service mass commercial spaces like golf resorts and clubhouses, specifically residential and marine industry worldwide. Okay, well, it would depend on how much money you're talking about, Jessica. If you're talking about $50,000 to $100,000, that's going to be someone in the what we call the friends and family round, people that you know in your current network. That's where I would go first. If it's under that amount, I'd also look at my home equity. I would look at credit cards. I would look at SBA loan. I would be looking at all those different things. If you are going to go out and try to get an accredited investor, then you're going to have to put together an investor offering, which can be complicated for someone inexperienced like myself in doing things. You would want to hire a business broker or somebody that knows how to put together an investor package, because you're going to have to put together projections. You're going to have to put together what's in it for the investor, voting rights, percentage of ownership, valuation of the company, your operating agreement, board of directors potentially. I mean, there's so many things to take into consideration when you're going to bring an investor into your company, because so many people get screwed by really high-level investors that know how to come in and take advantage of a young and aspiring up-and-coming entrepreneur. I went through it myself, so I know the feeling. I would certainly hire somebody to help you on your team as you go through that process. I am very confident that one of the mentors in the group, Dan, could help you with this, but you'd have to pay him a monthly, fee or what have you to coach you through that, because this is very serious stuff. You're talking about taking money from other people and giving up a percentage of your company. This is very complex and very serious matters that you want to make sure that you get a good attorney and somebody who's been through it to help guide you, okay? Don't take this lightly, because it could make or break your business, okay? Hope that helps. Okay, next question comes from Heather Brockman. Oh, I'm sorry, Jessica. Get on the next Zoom with Dan and the next Zoom with maybe Tyler or Jeff Bruno, because they're operations and financial experts, and you could just have some good dialogue with them on the monthly Zooms, and that's included in your membership with AO, and that's twice a month. So that's included. So take advantage of that time that you get with them on the Zooms. That's extremely beneficial. Okay, next question comes from Heather, and Heather says, what are the initial things for me to take into consideration when launching our complementative e-commerce store in our business? The background is our mobile pet grooming company is starting an online store. We currently have a few of our own products that are live, but I also want to offer more products. Is it best to start with inventory on hand or offer drop shipping? And if so, are there websites that are best for finding these items? Hey, Heather, awesome. I'm going to have Jerry, who does e-commerce, Joel, Dan, Jim, Jennifer, and Gabriel, who all have experience with this, and I'm going to have them answer your question as well. If it were me, I would not do any drop shipping at all. I would purchase a small amount of inventory and just start seeing what sells. I might pay a little bit more because of the low quantity of volume I'm purchasing, but if something starts to sell a lot, then I could go ahead and start purchasing more and get better pricing reductions. Drop shipping, I don't like doing for one reason. I can't control the process. It's one thing if it's your product that you designed and you're going to drop ship it from Amazon. Amazon provides great service. The systems and processes are awesome. Great. But when you're relying on those different drop shipping companies, especially that crap AliExpress and Alibaba and all that stuff, you have no control of the customer service, and you could end up damaging your reputation with bad e-commerce customer service, which could ultimately affect people's judgment of you on your reputation as a mobile pet groomer. And that's the last thing you want to do. I would want to control the process, do my own shipping, set up workspace in my warehouse to do all of the logistics of shipping, and do it all myself. That's just me. Joel and the other mentors who do this, they might have a better option for you, but that's what I would do, okay? Okay, the next question comes from Kristen, and Kristen says, where can I buy wholesale apparel? The background is I have a startup apparel company currently selling golf polos in 12 golf shops, buying closeouts from vendors and outsourcing logo. I want to lower my cost per shirt. How do I bypass the middleman vendors and buy direct? Where do these vendors buy from? Thank you. I'm going to have Joel, who is in that business, answer this for you, Kristen, because he's in the fashion business and I know he knows this inside and out. I almost don't even want to even try to answer this question for you because I've never done it. If it were me, I would do just what you did. I would ask my mentors. I would ask people that I know that are in the business, and I'd want to learn from them. One of the best things you can also do is go down the rabbit hole of Google and just go look for apparel manufacturers and start making phone calls. It's very time consuming, very tedious. You don't know what you don't know. I would certainly talk to Joel. Maybe even, I'll tell you what, I know that Joel would also have a conversation with you since you're an AO member. Why don't you shoot me an email and I'll get you an introduction to Joel, and I know he'll have at least a 15-minute conversation with you at no charge as part of your membership in AO. And then you guys can decide if you want to do some further business together, but I know he would do that for you as a member. So send me an email. I think you have my email, so just send me an email. Okay, the next question comes from Brad. And Brad says, what are things to take into consideration when adding work vehicles to my company for new technicians to use to perform work for the company? The background is we're in the process of trying to put together a second truck on the road this year. We've purchased the truck and equipment and are currently trying to fill the positions to operate the truck. But are there any tips, advice, do's or don'ts, processes, etc., to consider when putting a second truck on the road? Awesome. Brad, as you know, I already connected you with 4 or 5 people in the Facebook group that have trucks, your exact same situation. They've been down this road. They know way better than I will on how they work in this situation. So I know that all of you guys are going to get together and do a monthly or do a Zoom and record it so we can put it into our web portal for everybody to learn from it. I can tell you from experience, not firsthand experience, but just experience in leading some of these people that you're going to talk to. Some of the things I've heard is you want to create when the person shows where is the truck going to be held? Is it at your house, your office, a warehouse, or are they going to take it home? And there are pros and cons to both of those. The next is, what is the process for them to check in on a daily basis of when I picked up the truck, there was no damage to the truck on the exterior. Pictures, you can take pictures, do a video. They upload that video every single day and that protects you, right? If something happens, what happens if an accident does happen? What happens if they have a fender bender? What if they show up and there's a dent and they don't know what happened? What are all the processes of how that's going to be happen? How that's all going to be processed? The cleaning of the truck, getting them gas cards to use since it's for work related, monitoring their time. What if they take your truck and they say they're out doing stuff in the field, but they just go out and they park in a parking lot and just take a nap? Nick is going to share some good stories around that one with you. So there's all kinds of stuff like this to take into consideration. And I know that they're going to help you on that Zoom. But some of these people, Shelly, Nick, and Brian, who I'm going to have answer this question for you, they also have a lot of experience with that. But I don't have any firsthand experience, but I've heard some fun stories, and I know that they're going to be able to share some good stuff with you. All right. That's part of being an AO, man. You get access to all these different mentors. Even if I don't have the answer, we've got several other mentors that know exactly how to do what it is you're trying to do. And that's one of the benefits of being an AO, right? Can't beat that for $100, right? Okay, next question comes from Brad. And Brad says, how do I analyze the numbers when it comes to adding additional work trucks for the company and break-even time frame? The background is, how do I review upfront capital needs and ongoing costs against projected sales in order to review purchasing a second or third work truck for the company as I expand? Fantastic. If it were me, I would work with, there's a couple people that I would work with. I might work with Dan Abate, who is an Excel genius and can help you create the rows and columns of information that you're going to have to fill out with numbers and data in order to analyze the upfront costs and ongoing costs to make sure that you can make a profit when you add additional units. Ultimately, this type of exercise is done by somebody who is called a chief financial officer. Now, chief financial officers are usually for companies that are doing $1.5 million, $2 million minimum. And then we start hiring them on an ongoing basis to analyze data, put together budgets, compare projections versus actuals, and help us make decisions financially for our company based on data. When a lot of startup entrepreneurs, we make decisions based on instinct and emotion, which can get us in trouble and we can lose a lot of money. In the short term, because you're a member of AO, we do have some CFOs that you could probably hire from a just contract perspective, like a one-off, to help you put together and analyze a specific deal like this. We helped Heather, who has the mobile pet grooming unit. She had 2 units when she first joined AO. Now she has 7, and she's doing $1 million in revenue. So I've watched her do this process, and this is the exact same process that I had her go through. So she could help you with that. You might even ask Heather if her CPA, who helps her on an ongoing basis, might be able to do this for you as well without having to hire one of the CFO people, okay? But that's what I would do. Okay, next question comes from Ricardo, and Ricardo says, how do I analyze purchasing another business? The background is I have an opportunity to purchase a barber school. They're asking $80,000. Would it make sense to get a loan to buy this business? Okay, I'm gonna have a couple other mentors answer this that I know have business acquisition experience. First and foremost, which is very, very difficult in small business situations, you wanna make sure that you can get accurate financial data from the company in which you're buying the business. In small businesses like this, it is not uncommon for the seller to misrepresent the numbers. And you think that you're buying a certain amount of cash flow and a certain amount of assets, and then you actually buy the company and you get in there and the picture is definitely different. And you might want to look at using a business broker who gets paid a commission on the sale, just like a house. Just look for business brokers where you live, Ricardo, in Southern California. Just do a Google search for business brokers and contact a couple and find out if they do those types of things. I'm going to get this question to a couple other mentors. Specifically, I know Mark Kramer, Jeff Bruno, Dan, and Tyler. They're probably going to have a lot more information to give you on this because they've done a lot of that stuff. And so they're going to be able to give you some more information. As to taking a loan, nothing wrong with taking a loan to buy a business if you can get a loan. Nothing wrong with that. But it all matters about looking at the cash flow projections and servicing the debt, which means paying off the loan and the interest. We want to make sure that you're not getting yourself into a financial situation and that you're not going to be able to pay off the loan. So that's something to take a look at. You also might want to ask the seller if they would do kind of like a lease to own, where they do what's called owner financing. So let's say, for instance, they're asking $80,000, and you say, hey, listen, because of the nature of the business, I can't get a business loan on this. Would you be willing to owner finance? And in exchange for owner financing, not only would I pay you interest like I would at a bank or whatever, but how about I give you an extra $10,000 on the sale, an extra $20,000 on the sale? Sometimes it's worth it because the business might be worth it to you to go ahead and pay a premium in order to get owner financing when you don't have capital available to you. And many times the owner doesn't necessarily need the $80,000. It would be nice. So if maybe you could come up with $10,000 cash, finance the rest, increase the price, they've got an incentive, they've got cash flow coming in. If you default on the loan, you lose all your money and they take back the business. That's kind of like tote the note when you buy a car from those used car dealerships. They say, listen, we'll finance you. If you don't make the payment, we repossess it and you lose all your money, right? This is completely common. So that might be an option for you as well. I would certainly want you to have a business broker or a consultant like Dan help you on the purchase of this business instead of just making it from gut instinct. Have a mentor or a coach work with you on this one-on-one, okay? Dan could tell you how much he would charge to help you through that if it's something that he even does, okay? All right, last question comes from Kristen. Kristen says, how can I track sales made through strategic partnerships with other businesses? The background is I'm partnering with several like-minded businesses to cross-promote our services and or products to each other's audiences. What's the best way to go about tracking these sales? What else should be considered in this process? Okay, I'm gonna get about 7 other mentors to answer this for you that have experience with this, Kristen. But here's my answer. It depends on how the sale is coming in. If it was coming through a Shopify store, in Shopify, you can set up codes. So the person that's sending you business for someone to buy from your Shopify store, they have to enter a code. And when that person enters that code, it goes into Shopify and you can run a report based on all sales on that code. That's the easiest and simplest way in that situation. If it's another coach that's referring you a coach and you're manually talking to that person, closing the deal and charging that person, then you could document it in your CRM software. So I use Entreport. In Entreport, I could go ahead and code every new customer that comes on board. I can code that with XYZ person's name or whatever code I want to give them. And that way, every single month, I can run a report based on that person's code, how much revenue came in, and then I can manually calculate how much commission I give them. So you'd want to use a CRM software in order to document that. E-commerce store, it's already built in. If you're doing it manually, build that into your CRM software, okay? All right, that is today's mentor session. Remember, get into the portal, ask more questions. The more questions you ask, the more benefit you're gonna get to your business. All of the mentors in AO, remember, they donate their time to answer your questions. So they just love to help you. For no other reason, they just want to give back to you as a startup entrepreneur to grow your business. So ask more questions. They are ready. All right, have a great day, and I'll see you soon.